In the description, I'll have the link to the article if you want to see the rest of it. And before we jump into it, please like and subscribe as both would make massive differences. Lamar is a great one to start off with because you really could go a number of ways with him. And in the end, I think I'm going to go the lame route and say he should stick in Baltimore, but only if they assure him they'll get a receiver in the draft or free agency, because you just can't be having Patrick Ricard on the field at the clip they currently are. The rest of the team, though, is pretty well built for his success. You have a good offensive line, which obviously helps in the rushing game. You have a very talented defense that will probably be improved this year from last year, as they had a first-year defensive coordinator that I think just was struggling to implement such a drastic change in system from the Wink Martindale blitz-heavy defense to a more conservative, modern-looking defense. If Baltimore wants to act like things are okay, though, with the offense and just be status quo, I would be interested in seeing Lamar in Atlanta because they also have a defense that should be improved. Granted, their defense is trash compared to Baltimore's, but they at least have Kyle Pitts and Drake London and some money to improve the defense. And lastly, they still have that great offensive line, which, again, you like to see for his health as a passer, but also his success as a rusher. Their number two free agent is also a quarterback, and I'm going to say that he should also stay with his current team, but with Smith, I'll say that definitively, because there's just not a team that he could go to and I could confidently say is better than Seattle and also is in need of Geno Smith particularly. I sort of think that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up being a Jet, and that kind of takes them out of the running because I do think their team is better than Seattle. But Las Vegas, say, I would rather be in Seattle because I think their defense is going to be a quicker improving unit than Vegas will. And in addition to that, the playmakers are about the same. So why not stick with a team that's given you a chance and you've had success with? Our first free agent that isn't a quarterback is a guy that hurts quarterbacks for a living in Javon Hargrave. And I'll cut to the chase. I also think he should stay at Philly just because there's cap room making sense where they can let go of Fletcher Cox and retain Javon Hargrave, which I would recommend if you have to pay Hargrave $20 million or Cox $15 million, say. I would much rather pay Hargrave because I think he's, as their numbers suggest, I think he's truly one of the premier defensive tackles in the NFL. And if you're him, why don't you want to stick with the team that just went to the Super Bowl and shouldn't really regress too much? They're going to lose some free agents, but for the most part, they're going to retain a great team. Finally, we come across a player that will be moving teams, and in my mind, that's with good reason, because Cincinnati is going to be up against it with paying all of their super talented offensive players that, of course, you're going to have to shed some salary. And in drafting Dax Hill, they gave themselves flexibility for their roster, and now they can let go of Bates and hopefully plug in Dax Hill as their next great free safety. I have him going to Green Bay because I think they're going to be needing safety help particularly bad because Adrian Amos is likely going to be leaving. So for this year, you can have Bates and Savage, and then maybe next year you let go of Savage because he's been pretty disappointing to this point. So that gives you flexibility for years to come with Green Bay. And that's nice because if you have Rodgers, that helps with you competing now. If you end up going Jordan Love's route, you end up having a player on a similar timeline with Jessie Bates and Jordan Love being not appreciably different in age. Lastly, I feel like his addition would really uplift their defense to a point that they would be, again, elite. And even if you don't love the defensive coordinator situation because they play too conservative for your liking, a safety is, in their system, arguably more important than a corner. So if you're playing a lot of soft coverages, you'll be able to see Jessie Bates really shine as the great cover guy that he is. The final free agent we'll go over is Jamel Dean, and I think he should stay in the NFC South, but move to Atlanta, because Atlanta is going to need some semblance of a defense eventually. And a great place to start is with an elite cornerback duo for years to come, as they could really shut down you and your number two with A.J. Terrell and Jamel Dean. At his very best, Terrell is as good as Dean. I would say Dean would be their number one. Either way, though, it's a good problem to have with two number one corners. I think that's a lot safer than trying to squeeze another year out of AJ, or Casey Hayward, rather, who will be 34 when the season starts. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments.